Is my beard okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A couple of months ago, I made a video about Ange and his leadership style and Son as a leader, and kind of questioned both. Is Ange truly the head coach that we need, and is Son the leader that Spurs need as captain? And back then, I didn't really have an answer other than I thought that Son was not the captain we needed because he's not the outgoing person that I believe a captain needs to be. And so I wanted to revisit now that we are on an international break, and I want to revisit this video. And if you haven't seen it, you can see it up here. And then I wanted to kind of expound. So what I want to go over is, with Ange, am I Ange in, am I Ange out? And, if I'm Ange in, is it because I like Ange, or is it because I just don't want to see a head coach go out again and another head coach have to come in and recycle the process of a new project that I know time and time again doesn't work. I also want to go over Heung-min Son, and is he the leader, the captain that the team needs? Again, a couple of months ago I said no, but now in November 2024, where am I? And then finally, where do I see Tottenham going from here? We've beaten Aston Villa, we've beaten Man City, we lost to Crystal Palace, we lost to Ipswich. It kind of boggles the mind. So where do we go from here? The team seems like there's a bit of unrest, at least if what I'm reading is true and based on the body language that I can make out. It seems like the team and the coach are at disparate sides. They're not firing on all cylinders. So let me first talk about Ange. And I want to preface, I am Ange in. I want Ange to succeed because I want Tottenham Hotspur to succeed. Period. I've never seen Spurs win a trophy because I've only been a supporter since 2011. I caught one of the last seasons of Harry Redknapp, and then there was Tim Sherwood, then there was AVB, then there was Poch, and then so on. But after 15 years of supporting this club, I'd love to see my team come out on top and win something. Of course. We just haven't won anything. And I think as a American fan of English football, 15 years is a long time to not win anything. When I made my first video about Ange, I questioned his methods on the touchline, specifically his lack of active coaching during games, and I also questioned his stubbornness sticking with a one-way is the right way mentality. So months later, where am I? I think I've come to terms with the touchline coaching issue because I've seen him be more animated on the sidelines. He isn't Conte or Klopp, but he seems to be directing traffic in his own way. So then the question I have to ask myself is, am I Ange in because, since I am Ange in, am I Ange in because I like Ange? Or is it because I don't want to see another coach leave the club mid-rebuild, only for another coach to come in and try and fail to pick up the pieces, into perpetuity? Honestly, it's a bit of both. Unfortunately, it sounds wishy-washy, but it is a bit of both. I like Ange, but I also don't want see him leave only for another coach to have to try to pick up the puzzle pieces. And so I guess really I have what I'm coining as Levy-itis, which is a term I'm coining right now to mean that Daniel Levy firing a head coach mid-process, which in turn throws the club into chaos until a new head coach can come in and pick up the puzzle pieces in an attempt to salvage things, all the while carrying a mountain on their shoulders in the form of Levy, the club's expectations, and the fans' expectations, as well as getting players to not only understand the vision for the club, but executing on that vision. I think that we have seen too many coaches come and go because of Levy-itis. You could probably even add in there something about not getting backed in the transfer window with your needs and expectations. I think we're all suffering from Levy-itis, to be honest. And it's really fractured this fan base. You got it's almost as polarizing as our politics here in America. You have the ANGE in and the ANGE out, and there seems to be almost no middle ground. If you're ANGE in, you are hardcore ANGE in, and if you're ANGE out, you're fairly hardcore ANGE out. I like to think that I'm in the middle. I'm not ANGE out, I'm ANGE in, but I recognize that ANGE has faults that he needs to overcome for me as a fan to fully put my trust in him, because I really want him to succeed. Again, I'm a Tottenham Hotspur supporter, so I want my coach to succeed. Of course, I want the team to succeed. I don't have his ear, so I can't tell him, hey, dude, I think you're being a little hard-headed when it comes to certain things, and, maybe try this or try that. Hopefully someone has his ear, and hopefully someone at some point tells him that, and hopefully he's receptive to it. So then next, the question is Heung-min Son now the type of captain that I'm hoping for Tottenham Hotspur? A couple of months ago, I said no, and I'm still a no. I just don't think that he is charismatic enough, vocal enough. I love Heung-min Son as a player. Love him. He's, for the majority of the time that I've been watching Spurs, he's been there and he has been amazing. And I would love to meet him one day. He seems like a very cool guy. I just don't think he is captain material. And I think with the squad that we have, with so many players coming up from the youth squad, and we have such a young team, we need a captain who is charismatic, who is vocal, who can be nurturing to the youth players and be a role model to them, because they'll follow that. Without that, they're left kind of to do their own thing. And I think that they will not succeed as well unless they're very strong of character. I don't know that they'll succeed as well without someone on the team, on the field with them, to look to as a leader. I think that's just human nature. And I know I've heard people say that they don't think that captains mean much in today's game. And while that may be true for teams like, let's say, Man City or Liverpool or Aston Villa or Chelsea, maybe even Man United, and Arsenal, the majority of the teams that don't have, tier one players, I think they need a captain. And when you have youth on your team, more than just one player, you have a bunch of new players, young players, new players. You kind of need that person. And so far, I don't think that our leadership trio of Heung-min Son, James Madison, and Cuti Romero, I just don't think that they are the right people. So then that kind of begs the question, who is the right person or people? It's tough. It's really tough. On one hand, Rodrigo Bentancur would make a great mentor. He's a little bit older. He's got international experience with Uruguay, and he's got a lot of experience in general. He was at the Juventus, and he's came to us from there, and he comes in clutch when needed, just like he did against Ipswich, with that header. But unfortunately, he had a bad moment in international football, and now will be serving, I believe it's a 7-game ban. So maybe he isn't the right person. It's just unfortunate because I think he could be a very good motivator. Pat Matassar is another person who I think steps up when the going gets tough. And I can see him being sort of that connection between the coach and the youth, because he is young, just like them, but he is the next level above the youth. He has succeeded. He has found a way to break into the first team. And I think he did it the hard way, which is without really any help. No one really believing in him other than the coach giving him an opportunity when people were injured. And he just excelled. And he continues to excel. I think that he is phenomenal in talent and in mentality. I think that he is definitely someone to watch for leadership. Dejan Kulusevski, I believe he is someone also that seems to have a presence about him that I think others lack. He just has a presence. And, everyone has bad games from time to time. And I think he had a bad game against Ipswich. But generally, I think everyone, or just about everyone, if I polled a bunch of Spurs fans, I think the majority of them would say that the player that's had the best season so far for Spurs is Dejan Kulusevski. And that's how I feel as well. And I think that players that excel for the team should get the opportunity to help win the leadership of the team. Because in the end, that's what we're looking for, right? We're looking for players who can inspire confidence even when the chips are down. And those that are excelling over the course of the season should be the people that lead, in my opinion. I know that when I played team sports, I played a lot of American football. And I know that we didn't just look at the quarterback just because he was the quarterback. We looked to other people who were excelling in their position, whether it was a tight end, whether it was a guard, it didn't matter. You're looking for those people that have that spark. And I think people like Pat Matassar and Dejan Kulusevski have that spark. And I think that maybe they could be given an opportunity if ANGE kind of picks up on that and has a bit of a Ted Lasso moment where he kind of finagles things and makes that change. I think we might see a more inspired performance, at least from our youth players. Where are Tottenham going from here? Right now, I think that ANGE and the players' leadership group are at odds as to the direction of the team. As the captain, Son is fairly reserved and tends to toe the party line, so we don't get a lot of info from him. Whereas James Madison is more passionate. He seems frustrated, and given that he is sitting on the bench more, and it seems like there's a freeze out between him and Ange, I think that there's some friction there. And Cuti Romero just seems kind of disinterested, in my opinion. He doesn't say much. He hasn't been doing much. When he's really in it, and when he is truly rabble-rousing the group together, he does a great job of that. But lately, I haven't seen that from him. So what are we supposed to do moving forward? I think there are two primary paths the team can take. The first path, there's some sort of meeting of the minds, which comes from some sort of mutual understanding that can grow into respect, which in turn translates to improved chances of success on and off the field. That, for me, would be the obvious choice. That's the path I would like us to take, for so many reasons. I love Tottenham Hotspur, and I really enjoy most of the football that I've seen from Ange and the players. When we were under Conte, for example, I was a little upset about how deep we sat and we played mostly counterattacking football, but we had to absorb so much pressure all the time. And then Ange came in and seemed like a breath of fresh air because we were attacking, which is what we had been crying out for. We were playing 3 at the back, and we were crying out for 4. And so now there's 4 in the back, sort of crying out for 3, which is weird. But it seemed like it was good. But I think the problem we've run into is that Ange is very stubborn and seems to want to play one way and one way only. And obviously that has caused some rifts and some cracks in the foundation of the team. I don't want to see Levy fire Ange, only for another head coach to try and come in and fail to succeed at Tottenham. Any project that a head coach begins at our club never seems to get out of first gear. And I think Ange is on the cusp of getting us into that second gear if given time. If anything, in my opinion, the issue with the club is Levy himself for not backing Ange in the transfer windows. It was so important that we get these transfer windows right because the project is building foundation. Without the right players, the foundation is going to be undermined. And you can't build a house on an undermined foundation. And I think that's what's happening here. I think Ange is doing the best he can to salvage with the players he's got, but it's difficult. Levy brought in and continues to bring in youth into the squad with Mikey Moore, who I really like, Will Lancashire, who I also like, Archie Gray, who I also like, Alfie Dorrington, and others, including Yan Min Hyuk and Luka Vuskovic, both arriving in 2025. When it comes to implementing a new strategy and project, it is very different implementing those strategies and processes to youth than it is to seasoned veterans. If you've ever been a manager in any capacity and you have hires that you have to manage, and you have those that are seasoned veterans and those that are brand new, you know fairly quickly that the seasoned veterans tend to pick up things faster and execute it more closely to your your vision than the youth who may not have ever worked before or have only done summer jobs. And it takes longer, generally. There are always the exceptions to the rule, but generally it takes longer for the youth to figure out and get their feet out under them. Yeah, the vets tend to catch on faster and implement sooner because they've done it before. Youth players need seasons of intense training before they get to a place where they can really learn a specific and complex process like ANGE has brought to Tottenham. The second path that the team could go, things continue to fall apart. ANGE completely loses the locker room. The players rebel, which may sound familiar because it would leave ANGE at a place where Erik ten Hag found himself a month ago with similar consequences. Because if that happens, Levy will have no problem chopping his head and looking for someone else to come in. So that is my opinion. Recapping, I am ANGE. I am also any head coach in that can do the job and play attacking football, but at the same time, someone who is a little more amenable to changing things up. Maybe it means counterattacking football. It just depends on the opponent and the flow of the game. I am not a fan of Heung-min Son as the captain, and I think that the team is at a crossroads, and I'm hoping that they choose what I would consider the yellow brick road instead of what would lead to a certain disaster. So thank you, and as always, come on you Spurs. And I would love to hear your comments down below.